My foster son asked when I would start hitting him, and it destroyed me. The question hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest at 6:47 p.m. on a Thursday, right in the middle of chopping onions for dinner. I'm a software engineer. I solve problems for a living, but nothing in my 34 years had prepared me for the casual way 8-year-old Caleb asked when I was going to start hitting him. He stood in our kitchen doorway wearing the donated clothes from his social worker because he'd arrived with literally nothing 3 weeks earlier. His shoulders were hunched like he expected something terrible to happen at any moment, and his dark hair hung in his eyes the way kids do when they're trying to hide from the world. When I asked if he wanted to help me cook, he took a step backward and whispered those 9 words that made me set down my knife with hands that suddenly wouldn't stop shaking. The casualness in his voice was what destroyed me most, because he wasn't asking out of fear. He was asking like someone wondering when dinner would be ready. I turned to face him completely, keeping my distance because I'd learned over the past 3 weeks that Caleb didn't like adults getting too close without warning. He was staring at his feet, one sock higher than the other, wearing jeans that were too big and a superhero t-shirt that had seen better days. I could see the tension in every muscle of his small frame, the way he positioned himself near the doorway where he could escape quickly if needed. My wife Sarah and I had been taking things slowly with him, following all the advice from Linda, our social worker, about giving traumatized children time to adjust, but nothing she'd told us had prepared us for this level of damage. I knelt down to his eye level, making sure to keep my movements slow and predictable, and said as gently as I could manage, "Caleb, I'm never going to hit you, ever. That's not something that happens in this house." The confusion that crossed his face made my heart break because he genuinely didn't understand what I meant. He looked up at me with brown eyes that held too much knowledge for someone who should have been worried about homework and video games and whether his favorite cartoon was on tonight. "But I've been really good for 3 whole weeks," he said, his voice carrying a note of genuine confusion that made me realize this wasn't about fear of punishment. "Usually, it starts by now when I get too comfortable. Am I supposed to do something bad first to remind you?" The matter-of-fact way he said it hit me like a physical blow, because he wasn't asking when I would hit him because he was afraid it would happen. He was asking because in his experience, it always happened, and he was trying to figure out the rules of our house so he could prepare himself mentally for the inevitable violence. The clinical detachment in his 8-year-old voice suggested he'd learned to disconnect emotionally from these experiences as a survival mechanism, and that realization made me want to throw up right there on our kitchen floor. Sarah came through the front door right then with grocery bags in both hands, calling out her usual, "I'm home," my favorite people, in the cheerful voice she'd been using to try to make Caleb feel welcome. I watched him immediately tense up and